Hello, I'm Melanie Hickmore and I'm an artist living in Brighton. I grew up in the northeast of England, in Durham. My early childhood was spent in Esh, a little village on top of a hill outside of Durham city, which was amazing. I mean, the big skies, the huge views, it was a fantastic place to grow up as a child. This was back in the 70s, we had total freedom then to run around and do whatever. A day would consist of, we'd leave the house in the morning and we'd come back at tea time. It was, we'd just go down to the woods, run around and be totally free. We had a beautiful garden. Mum was really good at growing all sorts of vegetables. There was always strawberries in the summer. It had an old dry stone wall at the end of the garden and that backed onto a farm, Hankey's farm. And, there'd be sheep or cows or whatever in there. It was so nice. In the winter, we'd always get stacks of snow. It was really idyllic. We had 2 cats and they were, adorable. I loved my cats. We got Jippy when I was very young, but then when Cuthbert came along, this little black kitten, he just stole the show really. And I think we all just totally fell in love. I'm sorry, Jippy, but we all just fell in love with Cuthbert. He used to get into fights and do all sorts of things, and he lost an eye at one point, and we he went off. We didn't think we'd find him again, but we found him in the rafters in the garage, and we were able to save him. It was just a total devastation when he ran off, but then when we found him, it was like the best thing. He was really important to me. My parents split up. I think as a result of that, we wanted to move into town. Me and my 2 sisters were all, of an age that they were already at secondary school in Durham city centre, and then I was just about to go to secondary school, so it kind of made sense to move into town, and I spent a lot of time down on Durham riverbanks. If you've ever been, it's an amazing place. There's just so many paths. The river winds around in a big loop around the peninsula of where the cathedral and the castle are. And the trees are lush, and it's just an amazing place to be in the heart of the city. So I went to the local college and did a GMVQ in art and design, which was an amazing experience. My friends were all DJs and we used to put nights on in clubs, and I used to be the arty one. So I'd be doing all the flyers, I'd be decorating the clubs, painting it all in like Keith Haring style, kind of dancing figures and spray painting fluorescent stuff everywhere. It was amazing. It was just such a good experience of doing art that was like immediately getting out there in front of people and people were enjoying it. I loved that course. It was amazing. I got chance to do so many different things, from graphic design to, I built this massive 8-foot dancing plaster man. And then I went on from there to study sculpture at the University of Northumbria. I guess on reflection, I would have been better off doing painting. But, I did sculpture and I thought, well, look, I'm not going to get the chance to do these type of things again, outside of university. So I did portraiture and did lots of different bronze casting stuff. It was like really messy, great fun. It was in the early 90s, and it was the time of the young British artists were sort of exploding in London, Damien Hirst, Tracey Emin. It felt like art was really sort of kicking off in the UK, and it was an exciting time, but you saw these people and you saw how much confidence they had in themselves. And I think that was something I always struggled with. I think my time at university was really special. Equally, I feel like I came away from it a little bit squashed, and my sort of dreams of being an artist kind of had been killed off, really. I moved down to Brighton at that point, and it was a great time. It was really a time of a lot of freedom, and I was just enjoying being in this beautiful city and, going out with friends and having some money. I was blessed to become a mother at, in my late 30s, and it changed me radically. I suddenly felt like I had roots and I had a different perspective on life, and I felt like strong, and it gave me confidence, and it just changed things fundamentally for me. When your kids are little, it's really, there's a lot of, your time is devoted to them. I didn't have room to think about, getting back on, my artist dream, and there was no time for that. In 2020, I saw a pivotal exhibition, a Lucian Freud exhibition at the Royal Academy. It was all his portraits. And I saw that, and I saw one of his early works. It was a self-portrait of him, and it was in biro on a bit of paper. And I just thought, wow, what am I doing? I just started drawing every day. I just, even if it was just 5 minutes, I just drew something, a little pen sketch, doodle, whatever. And then I set up a little corner. We've got a lounge dining room, and the dining room end, I just got my easel out and put my paints out, and I just said, right, this is going to be my space to do my art. I paint my life. I paint fleeting moments or big moments. They could be, massively important moments in my life, but equally they could be really inconsequential, just a meeting or just a time. I paint memories. I paint things that I've imagined, or I paint things that I dream about. But they're all from my own reference point. I think isn't that what we all paint? Just paint what we see and what we feel, and then hopefully that will resonate with others. Coming back to painting later in life, I have a life to paint, and I feel like all of my experiences, my upbringing, my time not painting, I've grown a rich bed of memories and of life to talk about and to share. My first influence would be my dad. He was the painter at home that I saw, someone painting at home, and someone who always loved art. He loved sharing stuff about art and making art together, and he'd always be interested in what I was drawing and painting. So I saw an amazing Alice Neal exhibition the other week at the Barbican, and that just blew my mind. Her paintings are just right up my street. They're people, they're real people, alive and fresh. She calls them hot off the griddle. They're just people that she comes into contact with and paints. That's a legacy, a documentation. Those people will never be forgotten because they're hanging in galleries for the world to see them, and they've been acknowledged. I saw Paula Rego at the Tate. She blew my mind as well. Her paintings actually made me cry. It's amazing, the power of art to connect us and to make us feel things, to really move us. It's just, those Paula Rego paintings were wild. I love Tracy Emin. It took me a long time to like Tracy Emin, to really understand her. But now her work is so powerful, and it's so vital, and it's so expressive. Or what do I say? It's just incredible, raw, emotional energy. I've got to know Monk's work more and saw a Monk exhibition recently, and absolutely love the way he sees things in such a beautiful, dreamy, ethereal, kind of sensual way. He paints a lot about vulnerability, death, all sorts of really, really tough stuff, but paints them so beautifully. Frida Kahlo is a big influence as well. I like the way she's just been so honest about painting her life, all of her pain, all of her sadness, all of her everything, through her life. Her art has been such a powerful thing for her, a way to express herself, and it's so real and so authentic. And yeah, I love Frida Kahlo. The biggest challenge of being an artist is time and what are the responsibilities I have in my life. Couldn't go out and get a studio, for example, because I need to be tied to the house a lot for my kids, for them to be around and know that there's, I'm here for them. I also run a video production company with my husband. That obviously requires time and focus. Essentially, I just want to paint. That's where That's what I love, and that's where my joy is, just painting. I don't really enjoy the business side of being an artist. I would say to my younger self, Mel, you will find an audience for your art. People will be interested. Your art is important. Stick with it. Have faith. Believe in yourself. Coming back to art as a sort of, older, more confident person, I'm just like, I don't really care what the conventional techniques are. I've sort of explored lots of different things, from chucking paint about on big canvases, getting doing very messy painting. I've tried collage stuff, but cutting out figures from magazine and over painting them. I often now use a digital app on my phone midway through a painting. I'll take pictures and I'll sort of rework the painting, maybe colours or compositionally. I'll just sort of play about with it. Or I might print photos off and sort of rearrange them to make different compositions. One thing I like to do is when I'm on a long train ride by myself, that is a period of time that is pretty sacred for me, because it's a time when I've got nothing else to do other than just go inside my head, and I can really spend a lot of time generating ideas. So I'll get my sketchbook and I can just draw, like lots of memories coming up and just things falling out onto the page. It's when I can stop and be very still and alone that the ideas really come. I always have music on or some noise of some sort. My tastes are really eclectic. It depends on my energy as well, as to what music I'd like to listen to. I also love listening to podcasts. When I started painting, I just did it. I didn't really sort of tell, didn't launch or tell people about it. Every single person that saw my Instagram account was like, they were all gobsmacked. They were all amazed, and they were all like, wow, Mel, it was just so nice to get such positive feedback from everybody about my artwork. My younger sister really gets me and gets my art, and there's a few paintings that she's looked at, they cause a big emotion. She feels them, and that makes me really happy. That's really what I'm hoping for when I make my art, that people will feel them and they are understood by knowing that I've felt that thing too. I came across this quote the other day from Jerry Saltz, this American art critic that I love. He said, "How strange is it that I've never felt more alive than when standing in front of an inanimate artwork. Time expands, everything exists in the present. Moments become lifetime memories and guidestones, compasses, foyers into the unknown, harbours, hideaways and sanctuaries." I've experienced that. Looking at artwork, the power of art is phenomenal. And wow, to be able to have the power to do that, to make something that is like that, I just think it just drives me to paint. I want to paint until, I want to do that. I want to make those experiences happen. Thanks to Stan for the opportunity to share my story, and really enjoyed doing it. I hope you've enjoyed listening. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, that's where I post all of my stuff. I post several times a week, so everything's on there, from what I'm working on, what I'm thinking about, where I'm showing work. So I hope to see you there. Hello.